Alright, it's time to condense the 60 years of war that Talion has to face with our first siege. So yeah, the questline of Bruce and Rampback serves to tutorialize you to this, resisting sieges. As you can see, the deck is severely stacked against me, but because I'm a one-man army, I'm easily able to withstand this, because remember, the level of your captains is calibrated to when you recruited them. Kiritungur was one of the first things that we did, and as a result, the orcs there are not that as powerful as the endgame stuff. But again, not to worry, that's what I'm here for as a player.
So let's get down with our bad Nazgul
To
selves.
business, to defeat the orcs.
Well, yeah,
Well,
isn't
I
that kind of
understand-
how a lot of times it goes in this franchise then?
I guess.
So if I understand correctly, essentially all our establishments that we formed across the main game, we now need to defend them.
Yes. The idea is that
But
the forces of Sauron, which are extremely loyal to the Eye now, yes, will essentially keep assaulting the fortresses, and Talion will have to defend them in order to keep Mordor busy in an intestine kind of civil war, as long as he can. Again, since we know already, the problem with movies and the books, it's not too much of a spoiler, but, it's a foregone conclusion. He's just resisting as much as he can, giving time to Middle-earth to prepare, which is actually, profitable, it's actually convenient for the most part, because, it took, remember, if you forgot, it took until Bilbo's, final birthday in the Shire and his departure for Rivendell that Gandalf was like, well, shit, maybe his magical ring was actually, more than just a trinket. So yeah, again, it's a tad fanficky when you really get down to it, the idea that, this new OC character is the true responsible for, saving everyone's ass by nobly sacrificing themselves. Very Gary Stewish when you get down to it.
Okay. I don't think it's that bad because, it's not even it is only thanks to him that things won, because technically, what it amounts to is that he managed to hold things off until the stuff with Frodo happened.
Yeah,
so,
the idea behind it, Jova, is that, if Talion had failed immediately and everything, Mordor would have been in a state of invasion pretty much already by this point. And as a result, the Middle-earth would have been not only a bit less prepared, but also the location of the ring would have not been found, which meant it would have been easy for Sauron to find it.
To be fair, this is more of a prequel thing as opposed to a Gary Stu thing. A lot of times, when you get something that, is a prequel or midquel, of course, you're gonna have a thing where, these characters' actions are what lead up to the main thing, or, whatever it's being a prequel or midquel to. So, I wouldn't call it too much a Gary Stewish thing. It's these are the set of events that led to stuff here and there. I don't think it takes away from what the main characters actually did in the main trilogy, since, they still had to do their own actions to actually get stuff solved. Yeah, it's an interesting
Not necessarily taking away
added.
Jova, but this one essentially hijacks priority in terms of relevance.
I don't really get that feeling. I just feel okay, this is what happened in its own era. I don't feel like it takes,
You have to understand, Jova, also that it's to be fair, to be fair, it's a thing relatively common to the mythologies of Tolkien books, because in a sense that, each book was written after another, but talk about, previous eras. The Silmarillion was written mostly around the same time as Lord of the Rings, but the idea that of a chain of reaction, that one event lead to another, in a proper connected way, as in, actions have consequences throughout the entire history of this world. As in, remember, if the sword that the only reason why Bilbo, Sam, and Frodo manages to, be effective in some situation is thanks to the sword that Bilbo found, which was something that was built in the first age. Something kind of of that effect. The thing is that, in order to place itself in the chronology, but in order to potentially still giving a bit of, dignity to this kind of story, this one essentially tries to basically say, that the major reason why Middle-earth was not, at least under pressure, at the very least, was because someone who history will never know, helped from inside. Because again, the unfortunate thing is that the people that knew Talion and everything probably will not be able to actually tell his story over the 60 years to come. I don't know. I'm thinking about other stories that function as prequel to already existing properties, and I tend to think that they mostly tend to resolve their own internal problems, and if they have to interject with the stories that they are preceding, they tend to do so in a relatively more organic way. Like, think of it stuff like Crisis Core. Oh, here you go, this mechanic. Like he said, occasionally if you're on the brink of death and you're about to die, either your bodyguard or someone of your captains can show up on over and save your ass. That's cool.
Savior.
Think of Crisis Core. As much as I really don't like the whole added stuff of Genesis saying, "Look, guys, I was important all this time. Please take me seriously." It's not like he tried to. Okay, there is the small idea that it simply implied that he's the one that pushed Sephiroth onto his path of darkness. But when Zack had to deal with Gact, Genesis, it wasn't a case where Genesis was sure. Genesis was still a big threat and everything, but it wasn't on the same planetary scale that Sephiroth eventually would be. And the entire reason why instead Zack gets to have to fight against Sephiroth, and to hold him off, is because it was an event in the original, story. So it's not like he's changing anything in particular on that front.
Yeah, it's kind of like. Me and Teo recently saw Brando SP's review of 10.2, and he made another good point regarding Dirge of Cerberus as well. Regardless of what you think of Dirge of Cerberus, it doesn't actually ruin anything from the original 7. Like, you can just ignore it.
To be fair, that's a sequel.
Anyway.
Go on.
Sorry. I just wanted to bring things back to this, but if you want to continue with that, go on.
To be fair, Pedro, that one is a sequel. I was most talking about when it's a prequel story, so in a sense of, by the way, this happened, and we need to know how things got into place and how much it impacts that,
Sure.
Another example I could mention is the 2011 prequel to John Carpenter's The Thing, which, while a bad movie in itself, it tries to jam itself right in the right direction. But go on, Jova.
To bring it back to this, I honestly don't find this Gary Stewart for a few reasons. First of all, it's technically still a cast of characters that brought us to this certain point. And yes, Talion holding off stuff is weird, but to give him credit, he is a Nazgul, and he does have to suffer for it. Like, the thing is, like, I would consider this Gary Stewart maybe if it was like, say, something like, Legolas single-handedly, without any special powers or anything, just did it off of natural talent whatsoever. And to be fair, we have to remember also, the context is like, it's not like we're doing this on our own. Like, we are technically still the same character who's been doing this royalty and political gain stuff. It's just that now he's doing it without Celebrimbor, and to be fair, the Nazgul powers do explain well enough why he has it. Like, so... Oh, speaking of which, is this another Nazgul we're fighting?
No, it's still me. The more you progress through the
costume.
Shadow War stages, the more you get new trinkets, of equipment that make you resemble more Nazgul, including the masks. Go on.
Interesting little tidbit, but yeah, I just don't really find this Gary Stewart because, again, this avoids one problem with a lot of those types of stories. It actually did flesh out the character well enough for me to actually buy this because, Talion's been learning the game of how to handle these kingdoms or whatnot, so I don't find it outside the realm of possibility that he would be able to do it for 60 years. Like, he's had the training necessary, and without Celebrimbor now messing with him, he can hold out that well. In addition to the fact that he's a Nazgul, so, he can handle that. One question I do have, though.
Go on.
Is it implied that he becomes one of the Nazgul who are evil in the original trilogy, or just that he dies?
You'll be able to see, the natural conclusion during the final cutscene. Don't worry, the game literally spells that out for you.
Fair enough. Like, That being said, I think I can see how this game definitely would have raised a few eyebrows in not the best way story-wise when it first came out. Because, yeah, this game definitely interjects a lot into the original trilogy. Like, again, the stuff with Shelob, or the stuff with this other ancient tree spirit who I guess was feeling sick on the time of the original trilogy, because no sign of her.
Nor remember, Mordor as a land, it gets corrupted, so the spirit of Karnan was more in a dormant state. It's connected to, like I said, it's connected to the thing that Treebeard was mentioning in either the Two Towers or the Return of the King, the idea that the Entwines migrated to the east, and once, Sauron's dominion would be dissipated, there might be a chance of them returning, an implication of nature regaining ground, and that includes also the spirit of Karnan.
I think the main difference between this and, say, the first game was, you definitely got the feeling that the first game, while it did include Gollum and, references to the original trilogy, definitely kept itself a lot more.
I love the short amount of time it took for him to go from, "Oh, I'm gonna hurt you so bad, you're Sauron will blink," to, "I serve you, master."
Yeah, that's comedic timing. I tried to do that. Yes, go on.
But yeah, whereas where Shadow of Mordor felt like it was trying to be its own little pocket, this one definitely feels more like it's trying to insert itself as a chapter in the original mythos. I'm not inherently against that, and compared to a lot of other ventures, I feel that this game does it way better than others. But again, I can get how some jimmies would be rustled, like giving Shelob a sexy human design and then revealing that she and Sauron were lovers at some point. Yes.
Now that's definitely fanficky.
The two greatest evils are jilted lovers, and again,
except you cannot even you question even if Shelob is even that evil in this game, because she's trying to actually save Middle-earth from the fate of a Bright Lord. I guess you can argue that she was going, for her own interest, because a world where the Bright Lord rules is not one for her, admittedly. But I don't know. It feels like the game is framing her in a more heroic light.
Well, again, if I recall correctly, what was it that?
Yeah, the developers also mentioned the idea of trying to retcon and say that she was actually guiding Frodo and Sam, which is bullshit beyond belief. I cannot believe people who I know for a fact actually, read and watched the source material said something like that to justify their plot points. It kind of reminds me. It kind of reminds me when the people at Rocksteady had to waltz around. People guessing correctly what the plot twists of Batman Arkham Knight, because it was just that obvious, but they don't wanted to give the satisfaction of saying, "Yeah, you guessed correctly."
All right, okay, got it. Under Word of God on the TV Tropes page from the trivia, when asked why their oddly benevolent version of Shelob would attack Frodo, they stated she foresaw that he would succumb to the One Ring and attacked him to force him and Sam onto Mount Doom, where Gollum would unwittingly do what Frodo could not. All according to plan, guys. All according to plan, including Sam mortally wounding her.
That's what frustrates me, because the making of this game showcased that they did their homework in looking at what the kind of culture that Tolkien portrayed, and I don't mean just watching the movies, even reading the books, because a lot of details are stuff that was mostly just mentioned in the. There you go, saved again. Was mostly stuff that was just, mentioned in the books and not portrayed in the movies. So again, it showcased a lot of, research done properly for this. So again, me thinks that's a kind of PR type of responses in order to, once again, justify their writing that, probably someone at Warner Bros. Told them, just invent something, people will buy anything.
On that note, it is possible that Warner Brothers were more so the people designating that this game would absolutely be canon to Lord of the Rings. Because also on the trivia page, it turns out that in another live stream, while this game was confirmed to be a part with the films, the devs themselves don't consider their games to be part of any already existing versions of Lord of the Rings. So,
Because, like I said, there are things that completely clash. Like again, the identity of the Nazgûls. You will see in the final cutscene how this connects to the movies and why Warner Bros. Will make their statement. So trust me, it kind of reminds me, Pedro. You know what this reminds me?
Go ahead.
When during the thing that me and you actually discussed during development, when Nino Kuni 2 was in development and Bandai Namco sternly continued to say that it acted as a sequel set in the same world as the first Nino Kuni, even if it makes no sense.
They said like 500 years later, but Tino himself said in an interview that it's a different world, and as we saw, the final DLC expansion completely debunks any doubts.
Not to mention the completely different geography whatsoever to boot. Like I don't understand why is there
because marketing reasons, Teo. They wanted to make sure fans of the first game thought, oh, it's a sequel in the same world, so that means I get to see the same characters and shit like that.
Okay, I understand. I understand the more believe that, but not just this game and that one. Like it's something that we have seen cropping up from time to time in different games. Why is there such a this type of miscommunication between developer and publisher that ultimately damages the product? I just don't understand.
So anyway, so from what I can understand in regards to this, yes, this game is canon to Lord of the Rings, the movie trilogy, but only because Warner Brothers commanded it. The devs themselves didn't really consider it.
Fair enough, because the movie omitted a couple of details, like again, the real identity of the Nazgûl, so theoretically it could work with that if I squint my eyes. But definitely not to the book. But, it's still, I think that you have to take for what it is, basically a PR statement.
Yeah, with this it was basically the same thing. Warner Bros. Wanted at all costs for this thing to be associated to the movies because they thought they would make it sell more.
Oh, and while we're on the topic of trivia, yes, the devs did confirm that Zog the Eternal is intentionally designed to make you hate him.
Well, fair enough. Like, I get it. Compared to characters similar to him, like Azula, I actually enjoy more hating him.
Yeah.
So they succeeded a bit better, admittedly.
See the thing? Sorry. Okay. See, the thing is, there was actually an interview at E3 2017 about Nino Kuni 2, where Hino got asked if any of the characters from the first game will be making a return, like Swain and Oliver. And Hino's exact answer was, and I quote, so this is a different story. That being said, there are going to be some references to the first game for those who are returning fans. However, returning characters will be kept a secret. I would like for fans to play the game and enjoy the surprises. Now, of course, we know that the only character from the first game that actually returns is the conductor. So
there is the implication that I forgot the name because I'm more used to his Italian name. Your fairy companion from 2 is actually from the same world of 1, because some of his dialogue implies that once he died there, he ascended to a plane of existence, in the cauldron from which you get your your divine god from that helps the kings into something like that. But it's more of a wink at the audience kind of thing. But other than that, no, like it's what Pedro said. Also, you're about to see what happens when I actually fail Siege, because I kind of became a bit too cocky over this. To be fair, this is actually still the final stage of the Shadow Wars. We're actually still technically almost done. The problem is that I'm about to die because this captain has the no chance trait, which means no second chance.
No chance. No chance in hell. What?
Which means my entire fortress is lost and I need to reconquer it.
Well,
fun!
For the record, since you might want to know, because I didn't show it, since it was in the kind of footage that was not particularly interesting, The Overlord when the Overlord gets captured, you get a mission where he has to be executed. If you don't save him, he's gone. Basically, completely cut off. And this was, remember, before I discovered that I can just resurrect Captain from the Captain menu. So unfortunately, I'll need to find a new replacement once I get my fortress back. Because yes, I will get it back.
Well, you have to, otherwise you'll create a time paradox.
Yeah, I guess there is that too. And yeah, and every time you die, either Talion says something or you get taunted by the Witch King. So yeah, it's time to actually recruit more people and, starting basically from the get-go. And if I recall correctly, in this mission, I find there's another instances when a particular type of captain shows up that I did foreshadow for quite some time. Okay then. These two captains are technically none of my concern because, none of them are people that I control, but I'm actually poisoning some grogs, in advance for that. And this guy shows up.
That's not how you do it, amateur. That's 4 times the dose you need. Ever heard of super saturation?
Yeah, a captain can literally shows up chastising you if you actually tend to poison too much stuff.
Again, they really thought of everything with this game.
Also, this guy
they?
cheated death, but since he was one of my followers and did not betray me, it's a bonus stuff. That's pretty cool.
You will
And
be
trust me,
rewarded for
this
your
poison
loyalty.
guy will basically become a bit of a pain in the ass. Yeah, because you showed up uninvited, you get the boot. Now get the fuck off my face.
I will bleed you dry.
My favourite Shane quote he says is, "I only kill true warriors."
Basically.
Like, damn.
Way to tell him he's trash.
Alright, basically, because again I don't leave things unfinished, I might as well actually go after him. Basically, Saragoth will be the only major occasion where I lost a fortress. When it comes to the last siege of Gorgoroth, things will be just fine, so don't worry about that.
Think you can shove me down the ranks? Think you can shame me? I'll bring them your head. That'll surely
If you hear a quote like that and you get killed, yes, the guy will be promoted. Again, some of these quotes are not just there for show, it's actually very interesting. There you go, purified. So you need to pay, basically you need to pay attention what the characters are saying. Meanwhile, some minor politics stuff that happens. Speaking of, someone did got promoted and the fortress is looking more and more, inhabited as it goes on.
Oh dear.
Again, these are mostly just representation of the summation of what happens in the events, like someone kill another, or maybe it flees. So yeah, let's speed up a bit, because otherwise we will be here for an eternity. Especially for these arena encounters. This guy with the, if I recall correctly, this guy with the flaming spear is gonna become a bit the MVP of the region because he will become very reliable in killing people when actually needed. Also gets a fatality.
And he's got a spear, which I recall is your preferred weapon of choice.
Yes, I heard also the jokes about overcompensating.
Nah, I just remember your playthrough of Legend of Mana.
Yeah. Boy, I probably need to re-upload that part because essentially it kind of got blocked because I actually inserted a wrestling clip, which was kind of foolish of me. So there is that.
YouTube really is like the Wild West. You understand why it needed regulation, but you have to wonder if where we're heading is getting a little draconic. Yeah.
To be fair, this is mostly a problem also of the wrestling companies. They're very strict when it comes to their copyright stuff. So,
And yet a ton of that stuff.
I should have seen that coming. Again, you're wondering, for this particular tune is from, slightly spoilery, DLC boss fight from one of the expansion packs of Stranger of Paradise, believe it or not. If you actually recognize a bit the theme, you kind of know already what kind of boss this is referencing to, but I just wanted to be cheeky. Also because it came out around the time I was recording this.
I remember... Ooh, right to the head.
Again, the fatalities are actually pretty cool, the way an orc kills another. There's the one that we saw with, planting the bomb and then running away from the explosion. There's the one that we just saw a few minutes ago about, pulling the head thanks to a kunai with chain. Kind of like a scorpion a bit. They get very creative, and you can tell that this is basically stuff that they mocapped in order for it to be more effective, so it's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I do want, considering the studios of under Warner Bros. Tends to actually be basically around each other. One day they did actually ask some consultancies from the people at NetherRealm. Wouldn't surprise me.
Alright,
let's trim down the list of the war chiefs with the first one.
Maybe you want to stay. When you come down, I kill.
Alright, Mr. Roman Emperor.
Yoink. Right in the ass. Like I said, okay, to be fair, despite being an honor guy, this guy managed to actually being critical, which makes my job more easy.
So Theo,
recruiting...
Sorry,
go on.
So Theo, what would be Saruman's fatality?
Okay, he uses... The movie showcased only in the extended cut of the fact that it uses a fireball. Otherwise, the idea would be something akin to a Shensung, the idea of corruption. So, something akin, similar to the taunt of, similar to the fatality of possessing the body and forcing them to rip their own head off, but without the whole entering the body and just convincing with words.
Alright.
There you go. But yeah, again, remember, killing or recruiting a war chief is not just a matter of, finding one less orc during your siege. It also removes one of the tricks that the fortress can have once you lay siege on it. Like, for example, walls that cannot be climbed, or a dragon behind a door that can spew fire and kill you, people who assault it. That can happen. So, again, it's for your own interest to trim down the line or to put warships in the place controlled by you. So, as you saw in the past, the walls literally crumble thanks to sabotage. There you go, decapitation.
Very nice.
Like I said, this guy, Firebelly, is basically, again, the MVP because every single fight that I put him in, if I remember correctly, he wins relatively, not effortlessly, but, in a much easier way than the others. Again, Elspeth is a defender, so he has his job cut a bit better, but, still very commendable, which makes him basically the perfect target for infiltration.
Andy.
Alright, second warship to trim.
Betrayal.
Hi there! Oh, look! It's the Grave Walker! Time to play!
For the bright
Is that what we're called now?
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, since this guy had a cargo mount, I don't think he's gonna be... Yeah, he has his full health, so I need to actually get to him.
Oh,
He's also legendary rank.
The games are included on PS Plus, or on a bigger tier anyway.
Mm-hmm. Oh, fuck.
But to ensure death requires a powerful agent, such as the one I have brought for you.
I'm flattered.
Oh,
sorry,
you brought me a gift.
I'm kind of busy right now. Like, or
Please leave a message.
in the wise words of the first Tomb Raider movie, leave me alone, I'm busy.
Honestly, sometimes these guys treat like jilted lovers.
Yeah, again, sometimes they tend to enjoy, their the attachment to the Bright Lord, or in this case to Talion, a bit too much. The developer did actually a decent enough job with the voice lines that they had to record. Like, I cannot imagine the size alone of the audio files for this game. Again, probably someone with a PC port, that can actually data mine can see how much stuff there is. But I can only dread.
Okay, then shaming it is.
No, we're finishing this now.
Oh,
It's the warchief. I need to actually get him. Still, it's best if I actually kill him, especially because he's legendary rank.
imagine shaming him to the point where you can take him over.
Yeah, it is possible. Again, if you shame an orc enough, you you make them lose the trait Iron Will. So there is that. There you go, decapitated.
Are you sure he's dead this time?
Hopefully. I haven't encountered anyone else who manages to survive a decapitation, so there is that. Ow. Now, where... Oh, shit. Now, where is the poison guy? There it is. Yoink. It also doesn't help that, once a captain returns, they are scale level to you for a return from death, meaning that, despite the fact that I shamed him in the past, this guy is now back up to a higher level.
Meaning it's personal.
Alright, hopefully this one sticks. Now time for more arena fighting to speed up. For this and the next speed up section, instead I'm using tracks from the Zodiac Age version of Final Fantasy XII, because why not?
Neat.
Again, basically this is all of my work in trying to trim down the fortress so I can actually have an easier time reconquering it, because trying to take it head on with all those warships, no, that probably would have been suicidal.
There's probably somebody out there who knows how to do it.
Oh no, it's perfectly, doable, but it would require technically, not necessarily more time, but it would be a more, long and kind of thing process that it's, it's not perfectly ideal to show on commentary, When you play casually on your own, definitely, There you go, decapitation via shield, actually. Kinda like what happens in Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
That's one way to use the defense as a great offense.
Damn. Yeah, there's also this thing about the retcon, about the eye. We see in the cutscenes that the eye flashes between red and blue to symbolize the Celebrimbor is in there, but as we remember, in the movies it doesn't really do that. So
I'm guessing that implies that Celebrimbor eventually got snuffed out.
Keep that thought in mind for when we get the final cutscene.
Like,
they just killed him on the spot. Cool.
Huh.
Actually, no,
easy.
he decided to flee. My bad.
You mentioned the Captain America thing, more like Captain America.
To be fair, it's more US agent that does that.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Now the '90s Captain America film on the
Yeah,
other
he actually
hand,
decapitated someone.
Don't even
Yeah.
get me started on.
I mean, let's be honest, he goes for the limbs a lot with the shield.
Honestly,
in that movie.
honestly.
See, the thing is,
you
sorry.
Like on.
See, the thing is, here's the thing. Steve is not Bruce Wayne. It's not that you can't have Captain America kill anybody, but he should like if you're gonna have Captain America kill someone, it has to be as a last resort, not when he can perfectly avoid it.
Or at the
like-
very least justifiable by the context. Remember, during First Avenger, we see a montage of him,
Yeah.
performing the war actions, and it kind of makes sense that he will do that. Kind of like, what Wonder Woman does in their first movie, because believe it or not, people complained about that, and I don't understand why.
I mean, Wonder Woman is not Batman. Like she.
It's not even that, they complained the idea that she didn't knew, the fate of a soldier and just assumed they were in control of Ares, but like, it was still World War I Germany. Like, I'm pretty sure Steven ever explained to her what was the situation. Jeez.
Come here,
Elf lover.
The problem with some people is like, well, they think that every hero is like Batman and that they cannot kill. When in reality, nah. Like, I mean, okay, granted, DC heroes do tend to skew towards not wanting to kill, whereas the Marvel characters are
More
actually
okay.
more okay with killing. That being said, there still is nuance. Like, Superman and Wonder Woman have killed. Superman will only kill if it's absolutely necessary, or if, like, his foe is completely mindless, like, no sense of sentience within
And
it
even then, the story will have
whatsoever.
consequences. Like, I think it was during the Bronze Age, there were like 3 Kryptonian rebels, which were not General Zod, they were other people, that he was forced to actually kill them. And the thing actually, traumatized Clark. He thought about it for a very long time and was
Yeah.
actually scared about what he did.
Surely he would never have to kill Kryptonians again. Ooh, what's this little Jeff Johns event called War of the Super?
Of course it's Jeff Johns, it's always Jeff Johns.
It's always Jeff Johns.
No, when it came to the Captain America 1990 movie, you can make an easier list of things where he got it right, because again, not even just the country of origin of a character. For some reason, again, they made the Red Skull Italian instead of German, and I don't understand why.
See Captain America.
Okay. From what I can recall, the idea was to make it so that he was a counterpart to Steve. Like, he was also experimented on by.
No, that I
the
get.
same
No,
woman
that's
who would
obvious.
Eventually
Well, yeah.
design
First Avenger
the
did that
experiment
too.
for Steve.
Yeah, First Avenger did that too. The thing is,
Honestly, I do find it interesting how First Avenger had a few references to the 90s.
well, yeah, but the thing is, no, but that's the thing. Like Theo said, like the Red Skull is supposed to be American, and yet for whatever reason,
German.
well, yeah, sorry, you're right. Never mind. I got lost there. The point is, yeah, he's not supposed to be fucking Italian. That's the basic point, because he's supposed to be German because he's working for fucking Adolf Hitler.
Like, I mean, granted, I know that Italians were also part of the Axis powers, but even still, like, was this a reference to, like, some weird era in the comics?
Somebody in the production
Yeah,
crew.
yeah,
yeah.
Here's what happened. Somebody in the production crew wanted to take a vacation in Italy, so they set the film there. There you go.
I mean, I've seen worse excuses to do like that.
It's like no. Before 2011, Captain America fans were constantly get bad shit after bad shit. Like for a long time, Captain America movies, you was either the 90s asshole Captain America or the red brown incredibly lazy non-patriotic Captain America. And I don't want to be a superhero. I want to just chill out on my van and do absolutely nothing.
The best you will get was Cap's cameo in some of the 90s cartoons, like the one on like the Spider-Man ones. Even then, it's bizarre because, if I remember correctly, in the Spider-Man animated series, Cap ends up locked in a struggle against the Red Skull in a time stream.
Yeah.
And gets basically locked up there.
Your choices,
Until
It
the
makes
Secret Wars
sense
event.
in context.
your choices pre-First Avenger were this: a movie that's only a Captain America movie in name only, or a really shitty Captain America movie.
But Pedro, how can we forget the masterpiece of it is the 60s cartoon?
Well, no, the 60s cartoon is great. The thing is, that cartoon was made in the 1960s, back when Marvel Comics were silly as fuck. You know?
Like, okay.
By the time we got to the 1990s, you expected something a bit better.
I'll say this. I'll take the 90s film over the 60s film because the 90s film I can at least squint and say, yeah, that's a Cap movie, whereas the 60s film is like, it does so much of that
movies
stuff.
were done in the 70s. Oh my god.
The 70s, yeah.
Traits to your core, I am impossible to rid yourself of. You will learn this.
Okay.
Go on.
It comes down to personal preference because one thing that I can definitely see why people would prefer the 90s movies because Captain America in the Red Brown movies doesn't behave in any way like Captain America. He might as well be a different character.
But the thing is, what I hate about the Red Brown films is like, and this is sadly a thing that's persistent in some modern superhero movies, but it does that. Well, maybe it was new at the time, but even still, it wasn't executed well. But it does that old thing of, oh, the hero doesn't actually want to be the hero, so we spend like a good portion of the movie with him rejecting the name, not even wanting to be the hero and all that.
A good portion. I'm gonna have to correct you on that. By a good portion, you mean 74 minutes. As in most of the movie. It takes 74 minutes before you see Captain America in costume fighting crime.
It's so weird because in comparison, the Doctor Strange TV movie that came around the same time actually was more a bit in line with what the character was supposed to behave and everything. It just had the misfortune of Doctor Strange being incredibly horny during that time and anything, and it wasn't, super spectacular, but it was more on the right track, admittedly.
Like
The 70s were weird with this stuff.
It would be so easy, like especially like for example, like I remember when what's interesting, like when back in the 2000s when I was watching House MD as it was coming out, right? I always thought to myself, all you have to do when it comes to Doctor Strange is portray him pre-accident exactly like Dr. House, and lo and behold, that's exactly what the Marvel movie did, because pre-car accident, Stephen Strange basically is written like Dr. House, and yeah, that fits perfectly. That's exactly.
It is true. The TV movie essentially doesn't. If I can correct, the TV movie skips the origin story and starts with the character already being the Sorcerer Supreme. But I forgot, the first part of it, like you said, in general, it's actually more weak. It was actually one of the early attempt at an actual movie rather than being a series, because around the time there were stuff like the Spider-Man series or the Lou Ferrigno series.
To me, one of the most unintentionally hilarious moments in the Red Brown duology is in the second movie. Remember, this is the second movie. This is already at the time that he's the superhero. It would make more sense in the first movie for him to say this, but in the second movie, after he became Captain America, after he learns that Christopher Lee is having this serum that turns people old, what is his reaction? Well, it sounds like a job for the FBI. Yeah, that's exactly what a superhero should say, right? I should call the cops on this. You're a fucking superhero, you idiot.
Mark Millar will be so proud with, superheroes saying that they're not good enough, and instead the true heroes are the cops and the army.
I have never seen a superhero that is so... That is so despising of his own fucking job.
Okay, yeah, don't get me wrong, the 90s film has its issues, but Doom, for the most part, does act like Captain America. He just does some weird stuff.
I'll argue even that, but go ahead.
I feel like he actually does act like Captain, the idea of this bold hero, even taken out of...
except for the fact that he keeps abandoning his friends by saying, "Oh, could you stop the car? I think I'm gonna be sick."
Oh yeah, no. Look, like I said, it ain't perfect, but he at least acts like Cap to a degree, whereas the Red Brown movies, I might as well just be
Not to mention, let's not forget that the second Red Brown movie has quite possibly the worst demonstration of throwing the shield I have ever seen.
Yeah.
My question, why were there multiple Red Brown movies? movies. Like,
Two.
The first one not
The-
bad.
I guess
enough.
I think. Okay, hold on.
I already told you, Joe, but the 70s as a whole,
Oh,
as
okay.
a decade, were confusing at best because, you know, aside from some exceptions, like some stuff that Lives listed, like already filmmakers, it feels like a good majority of filmmakers in Hollywood had a collective like brain fart or something, and this got reflected even in the TV. There was also the fact that, if I remember correctly, between the 70s and the early 80s, I think, there was also a downscaling of dark themes and violence on TV because of real stuff that happened, like the JFK assassination, and a couple of trials that were happening in the US at that point. So there is that.
I guess to be fair, like Dubes mentioned,
Alright,
we did at least get like, you know, the Superman movies.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, it's time to take back the fortress finally. So get
Alright.
this shit done.
Let's do that then.
Can someone help me? I can't see with this thing on.
No, don't worry, it's fine.
Use the Force and all that.
Wrong franchise.
This is all you brought to try.
You forgot that this is the guy that killed me, got promoted to Overlord.
So it's payback time.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to need them. Now we do here. Manufacture. Know what that word means? It means create. When we are about to manufacture your death.
All our training comes down to this. We're ready.
Remember this. Machines tend to break down when you're jamming an orc's head in between their gears.
Get ready.
You get wrecked.
And I've also bet the glowing effect on Talion's weapon is more green than blue, represent that. And yeah, since I infiltrated basically everyone, again, this is another cakewalk because, again, like I said, I did not want to waste too much time on this fortress. But to continue from that, and that's there's also the fact again that the example that we mentioned were stuff that happened, for TV. The first major theatrical time Marvel tried. You think that thanks to the success of Spider-Man that was over the decade, they will have their first, movie theatrical release, in the 70s or 80s, be Spider-Man. But no, it had to be instead Howard the Duck, because that was actually a very profitable line during the 70s, and people genuinely believe that superhero comics were on the, on their twilight. Holy shit!
You wanna
DC was getting the right idea with the Superman movies.
to answer Jova's question? I get the feeling, Jova, they had two movies because probably for contractual reasons. Because I seriously thought the first movie was like this big gigantic hit that demanded a sequel.
It's funny also that Red Brown collaborated again with Christopher Lee, or he did it before.
Yeah,
don't
in
know exactly
Howling
what the chronology
2,
for
yeah.
Howling 2. An experience that Christopher Lee was so actually one of the few times where he was genuinely, not distraught by, but he generally regrets so much that when he got to get his cameo in Gremlins 2, the first thing he did when he walked on set was apologizing to Joe Dante.
My goodness.
It ain't just like you asked, boss. Hold the war chiefs, blow up their stuff, weaken the fort. Yeah.
Those movies are only Captain America movies in name. They have absolutely nothing to do with Captain America. Literally nothing. They might as well be its own original superhero. Aside from
I don't think the Red Brown films even had Red Skull in them.
aside from the fact that the main character is called Steve, and his outfit is blue and has the American flag bits in them, there's literally nothing else that's even remotely Captain America.
Even his helmet is inconsistent. At some point, he basically gets a motorcycle helmet,
Yeah.
which is painted blue. It's so ugly to look at.
I can imagine the warlord of this area being like, Wait a minute. How is he conquering everything this fast?
You didn't check for spies, mate.
One in particular, not to mention the fucking. Oh yes. Okay, Jova. Tell me. I mean, you're American. What are the three primary colors of your flag?
Red, white, and blue.
Red, white, and blue. Well, not according to that movie, Jova, because according to that movie, your colors are red, transparent, and blue. Because the shield is actually made of, I guess, plastic, somewhat a plasticky, transparent, plasticky thing. So there's no white in that shield. I just.
My God.
I also infiltrated 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spies just for good measure.
So there you go, Jova. Little did you know, it's actually red, transparent, and blue.
It's a PNG, Pedro.
Try to take this fort and you'll die again.
Yeah, he doesn't even deserve a quip.
I'm busy.
Like he's telling me, like, can we get these over it? I need another siege at 8. Alright, let's start with 1, 2, 3,
Hurry, wait a minute.
4,
What's going on here?
and 5. Alright.
Seriously? Am I not paying you enough?
Apparently not.
Clearly.
We get paid.
You don't pay me at all.
Yeah, it's like that
Yeah.
meme. It's like that meme. You guys get paid.
Oh shit, we get paid? Why was I informed of this?
Oh shit.
Not even in somewhere like Middle Earth if there are decent working conditions. God damn.
Well, to be fair, that kind of goes without saying. I mean, it's the fucking Middle Ages, so. Remember, this was back in the day where not dying at your 30s from a mortal disease was like a blessing. So. So I can imagine. Yeah, that actually tracks. So.
Alright, let's finish this.
Once and for all.
You don't need this fort. What good will it do you?
That's for me to decide.
Look at that head sore.
You know,
And yeah, like he
sorry.
said, if you end with a decapitation, Talion will actually bring the head of the Overlord to the speech.
I would so love it if he put his hand up the head and started using it as a sock puppet.
Yeah.
These walls are ours once more. Our enemies are routed. Their banners in shreds. They know that Minas Morgul is the true power in Mordor. They know there will be no escape.
There we go.
And then they use the orc's head as a football.
Well, I can't believe that. One thing that they didn't showcase, because it's a thing that you can just catch up while walking. If you free roam during a fortress, whenever you have conquered or not, you can hear generic Mook orcs, not captain, generic Mook orcs, getting drunk and start singing, actually. Well, actually pretty cool.
You know, too, if only the orcs were nicer, then they wouldn't have to be exterminated.
God. Like you said,
I mean, so far, too, that's basically the logic this game is running on.
yeah, because again, Celebrimbor was basically ruthless in his conquest, and Talion had no better ideas, basically. That
Talion is although, I mean, while Talion is on par with Kimba in terms of kill count, he's still nowhere near Speed Racer. So there is that.
Again, if you know the context of the Silmarillion, you know that the orcs as a species are more tragic. But again, if you knowing the mythologies, you know that they, despite everything, despite also being in service of evil, they're still, ultimately destined to have, a happy ending of their own. All right, final siege time.
Might as well, shameless plug. I'm actually in the process of tagging, because my next big upload on my own personal channel is the entirety of the original English dub of Came by the White Lion. Since surprisingly, even though the sequel series Jungle Emperor Leo is on YouTube, the original series is not. So I decided to just fix that myself. I'm actually as of right now tagging.
Honestly, just like Adum, again, I'm as baffled as Adum was when he discovered that, because apparently the officially distributed DVDs have lower quality audios of the second series. The one dubbed by the Christian group.
Weird.
So what people gathered? Where did people gather for the YouTube upload and how?
Sorry.
Considering what channel that second series broadcast on, the people just gave that the quality it deserved.
I can actually explain that.
I understand that, Reeves. I'm just pondering about.
I can actually explain that to you, because it's common in the anime community. What they do is they take the original English audios and they try their best to clean them up, remaster them, and then apply them to the Japanese DVDs.
Oh, no, that I get. I'm not talking about the visual quality, Pedro, just the audio.
Oh, the audio.
When Adam talked about the second series, he mentioned about getting the officially distributed DVDs, and how the audio quality alone, was incredibly muffled and grady for some reason, when instead the ones on YouTube are actually much cleaner.
Yeah, that's because, okay, I don't know the exact places that the guy who uploaded, the person who uploaded got them from, but I'm pretty confident it was just someone on the anime community who took those audios and did their best to clean it up as much as possible.
Again, considering the overall themes of the second series, and the quality of the dub, it's the most positive thing you can say is basically just for preservation purposes, but still.
Let me tell you a story too, since I'm guessing you're probably not familiar, because you never underestimate the dedication of the anime community too, because, okay, for a long time, even in official Toei releases, the audio of OG Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z had always been very poor quality, and that's because Toei, being the always idiots that they are, didn't bother archiving the original masters of the audio. And as a result, the audio that you see on any English release, specifically the Japanese audio, not the English dubs, the Japanese audio is always recorded from a second source, like from TV recordings or from any kind of, not from actual masters. And because they're taken from copies of other recordings, they come off very, there's poor quality, there's a sound to it going on. Fortunately, Theo, there's a team going on in the community called Team Mirolo, who went out of their way to find OG from the 80s VHS recordings of the original TV airings before back when the audio was still new. And as a result, it's much better quality than any official Toei release. I'm not kidding. They even posted a picture of all of the tapes with all the original 80s TV recordings from the original Japanese era. I don't even know where the hell they got that shit from. But don't underestimate the anime community too. They'll find it. They'll find a way.
It's similar to. It kind of reminds me of what I think that I've heard people mentioning. I don't know in what degrees it is true. The idea that the fact that apparently one of the entire reason why in the later parts of the OG Dragon Ball series the colors seem to be slightly darker is because Toei accidentally, like the original negative, a bit overexposed.
Yes. It's a common thing.
Goku's suit is, you know, a darker shade of orange, more similar to red.
That's why the best way to watch Dragon Ball, OG Dragon Ball specifically, is the Seed of Might release. Seed of Might is a fan group who went out of their way to color correct every single frame of every single episode of OG. And combining it with the Team Morello audio that I just described, it's the best way, period, to watch OG Dragon Ball in the original Japanese. Everything that you've seen Toei and Funimation do when it comes to releasing the series, the fans have done it better.
I can imagine a lot of these people might be from South America because the Dragon Ball community is super strong there as well. So I can't believe, you know, and also, you know, they might be dedicated enough to actually perform such a task. Alright, the last 3 captains to actually deal and we're done.
Yep. Like, for example, right now there's actually a new French Blu-ray release of OG that actually looks great and it's properly color corrected. Thing is, Toei and Funimation had nothing to do with it. It was done by a French group whose name I forget right now, but Bibbs knows what it is.
I take the piece all the French, you know, oh Jesus Christ, on a lot of things for the kicks, but I can tell you that when it comes to distributing anime, they're actually possibly, okay, not possibly, definitely, even better in my country. They were one of the first who had the exclusive contracts, and by extension, they passed them on to my country via them, you know. It's thanks to them that, for example, Mazinger Z, you know, is super popular in a lot of European countries, including mine, and why, for example, the new game that is about to be released, you know, is getting exclusive deals even in my country, for example. Again, French in general is possibly an even bigger weeaboo country than mine, and as a result, they love how to take care. Again, it kind of makes sense considering they even attempted multiple times to have series that resemble in animation, you know, Japanese animation. So there is that.
So most likely those Leo the Lion episodes that are on YouTube that Adam used, they were probably produced in a similar fashion.
It always fascinates me that, you know, one of the positive things that I can still take from the internet, even in these darker times these days, is the fact that, you know, even in the middle of a chaotic way, lost content can still pop up at any moment.
Yeah, like the Popeye movie that Sony doesn't want you to see.
Or some gaming prototype. Recently, an entire PS2 Daredevil that people didn't even know existed popped up, apparently.
I'm really hoping that at some point someone leaks both Batgirl and Coyote versus Acme.
Agreed. Speaking of Warner Bros.
Definitely.
I mean, we already. We have
all the stuff that's getting leaked from Coyote versus Acme. I am hoping.
We were lucky with the Scooby-Doo and Crypto movie, but to be fair, that one eventually got released.
Yeah, the Popeye movie took years, but it did eventually leak. So hopefully, it will be the same with those.
All right, one more captain and we're done.
One more war chief.
Yeah.
All right then.
Can we shameless this one?
Let me see. And I think I either still convert him or kill him. There we go. Also, I'm pretty sure I got 1 million diseases just touching you. Oh, hi, Bruiser.
Cool.
Victory!
And again, as you can see, despite, you know, having lost a fortress, this is the extent of the Shadow Wars. As you can see, this is still more manageable. Again, at the release, this was multiplied by 6 in terms of turns. You can imagine how excruciating and annoying it can be. And now we get the
Talion
epilogue.
held back the forces of darkness for decades. But the Dark Lord's ring had a will of its own.
As it always does.
It has never been this over.
Hi.
And that's the more chilling part. Instead of actually reserving revenge, or resentment, the Witch King and the rest of the Nazgul welcome Talion with open arms like an actual brother. It's very chilling. And there you go. Transformation complete. Which means, obviously, you can imagine all of the armies get disbanded as a result.
But there's got to be something to not make this a complete downer ending.
In the years that followed,
Well, information's what we know.
The newest of the Nazgul traveled with his brothers to the Shire in pursuit of the new ring.
Yeah.
And that's it.
So essentially what these two games amounted to was backstory on one of the Nazgul.
Darkness gave way to light.
And yeah, we get recreation from scenes from Return of the King.
And an unlikely hero.
Sam?
No, God. Also, and there you go, check this out. When
Oh, there's the
Sauron died and Barad-dûr crumbled,
Death
Celebrimbor escaped. He's still alive. And yeah, Talion was that Nazgul that gets shot by the meteor.
who walked out of darkness.
Wow!
See what I mean about
Just what I always
self-defending?
needed to know, the
However,
backstory of that guy.
I would say this, at the very least, they bothered to include this. By being killed by that, definitely. Talion gets released, and finally, after 60 years of fighting incessantly, he can get some rest and get back to his family.
Wait,
No,
get back to
again,
his family. See in
we-
the afterlife?
Yes, I kind of wish that we had a shot of him getting back to his wife and kid, but at the very least, he's still, relatively better. Him actually dropping his weapons, or at least a bigger armament, and being able to enter the eternal life that awaits all of men, specifically, in the halls of Eru Ilúvatar.
And we end with a vocal song.
Yeah, which is similar to the theme that we heard on the war map. I actually kind of like this song. It's very somber, but, important nonetheless. The credits, as you can see from the part, folks, are very long. There is a mid-credit scene, but it talks about something that I can mention when it comes up. So in the meantime, Dweebs, final thoughts, please.
Well, I mean, it certainly feels more like Lord of the Rings in the last game.
Yep.
It's like I said to me, the last game was just a really, really pathetically attempted an edgy story with just Lord of the Rings stuff slapped onto it. Here it actually feels like a Lord of the Rings story, just a bit darker than usual. Yeah, the characters are a lot more fun to watch, the interactions are a lot more fun, especially when the orcs insult you and when you insult the orcs. Yeah, they say. I'm surprised if this were like if the dialogue were any more like modernized, it'll probably just evolve into a one-sided your mama contest with the shaming. I fucked your mother. Nah. Like that. And hey, the combat looks a lot of fun to pull off, and because I downloaded it, I just we're not rented exactly yet, just acquired the game using PlayStation Plus, so certainly looks more.
You don't really need a save file first to play, so you can pick up, and you know already the story, so you're able to go from the get-go.
Shame every orc I see.
You can, technically.
Yeah.
I mean, you won't really build up an army, though, that well if you just exclusively shame.
And he's Celebrimbor, I don't need an army.
Yeah, and how did Celebrimbor end up?
Well, that's the thing. He escaped apparently to the east. The DLC will hint a bit more about this location, but again, that's basically our sequel bait. Because the East Ring has not been destroyed. Celebrimbor spirit still lives and is somewhere in the west, ideally.
But yeah, that's my final thoughts. It's definitely some more fun game, and it actually feels more like Lord of the Rings.
All right, Drova.
Well, okay, for as much as we have had to critique about what is, some of the story insertion issues, I think this game is still overall good. Mind you, that's in spite of the microtransaction crap that was going on as well, but
There is
okay.
something else that we don't know yet, but that's what the mid-credit scene is for, so go on.
I will say this, though, I don't really have too much of an issue with the stuff that this game tries to do. I'm actually fine with the show-up stuff for the most part. Yeah, I kind of roll my eyes at the bit of where it turns out, in order to justify her being more of a good guy, it turns out that everything she did in the trilogy was all a sacrifice to finally put Sauron down for good. I'm actually not broken up about the Celebrimbor stuff either, because, I guess they established that with the end of it, his soul is finally free. I mean, and I guess he got his comeuppance well enough being trapped in with Sauron after his arrogance got the better of him and all that. So, overall it is what it is. Once again, the usual shtick. You come for the story, you stay for the Nemesis system. Because at its core, that is essentially what this game is. You having as much fun as you can with the Nemesis system. And I will give it credit, while I did think the ending between Celebrimbor and Sauron was a bit abrupt, I actually do dig how this ending, is more a proper ending of sorts. It's a nice bookend to sorts. It is a bit funny that, yes, specifically Talion was that one Nazgul. So hey kids, if you wanted that backstory, there you go.
This is why when we commented back on the Turn of the King, I don't know if you noticed, Drova, but I did actually put a bit of cheekiness about both the Eye and that Nazgul in particular, because I already knew about this twist.
Yeah. Yeah. Overall, it's fine, but yeah, no, I feel like this game, again, blemishes aside that I don't know of yet or that we already covered, is still a pretty stellar game all around, and the Nemesis system is very impressive.
Talk about this. There is one person that this game is dedicated more than anyone else. One that basically pushed the original one, Shadow Mordor, to get in. I don't know much about him, I know that he was a musician, but he mostly served as an executive producer and a major producer for a couple of games, including Kinect Adventures, for example. He was called Michael Forgy, which passed away unfortunately in 2016 during the development of this game. As a result, the developers did create a tribute for him, a special orc with a facial structure similar to him called Forfog, which can actually save you in situations at hand. And then Warner Bros. Decided that it was a good idea to put this feature as a DLC for $3.50.
What?
Yeah. People were not particularly pleased about this, so very hastily, Warner Bros. Had to essentially reconvert this into a free update for all the DLC and say that all the money that had been spent on that would have been devoted to charity.
They seriously made a tribute to a guy DLC that had to be paid for.
Yep.
Pay this much to add to your credit scene, come on.
It's not about this, Jova. Let's talk about in-game. Forfog can occasionally actually save you from dangerous situation, like I said. I just never happened to actually find it. They even made him a bard because, he was a singer. This song that you're hearing right now, that's actually him singing. It's something that he composed. This is not in the style of one of those AMVs that you find on 2007 on YouTube, but this tribute was always present there. the DLC was about the concept of Forfog saving you in case you had exhausted all of your second chances, and you were about to die. Similar to the mechanic that I showed in this very part. Again, it showcased how much this game possibly could have been better if it wasn't plagued by the greed of its publisher. Like, I really haven't seen a major case of where someone was like this obtuse in monetizing a game that really didn't need it.
I guess it's one of those cases where if you get the game now, you'll skip over that stuff. That does not excuse
like
it happening at all, though.
It's already integrated in all of the games as a free update anyway. Alright, you can continue, Jova, in the meantime, because this is still gonna go on for a bit.
I think I pretty much have said my piece. Like, I'm actually fine with the story stuff added in. There are some things where I do feel are a bit off. Again, more or less, this game shares the same things I liked and the same things I didn't like about the story from the first game. The characters are nice, but we don't get to spend as much time with some as I would like. Some characters kind of just come and go. Really missed opportunity to not have all the DLC characters join in on a final thing. I guess if I will say this, I do feel like the game was building up to like a final confrontation with Celebrimbor against Talion, but instead what we got was Celebrimbor versus Sauron, which I can kind of get, but again, missed opportunities all around, honestly. Aside from that, though, I feel like it's a good venture. It could have been better in a lot of ways, but I would also say that, again, if we're not counting all the BS that occurred, it is perfectly fine, and I dare say, a very good model. And here's hoping that that Wonder Woman game makes a great use of the Nemesis system, too.
Alright.
Serious props to all the voice actors who dedicated their lines for that as well.
Alright, Pedro.
Well, before I mention my final thoughts, I have to mention, about the whole, this guy turns out to be that one guy who gets hit by the meteor. Jova, so the question must be asked. Is this better or worse than, turns out Simba and Nala also had this other cub, male cub, who's Kiara's younger brother, thing from Lion Guard.
I'll take this over that any day, because like I said, I'm fine with this. Was not so fine with that. I mean, and granted, I didn't even really hate that as much. That is far from the worst retcon in that show.
True. That being said, yeah, pretty much it seems like it's about the same kind of stuff from what I can tell from the first game. Again, this one in particular has a lot of orc killing, which is why I made that joke earlier. But yeah, it looks like it works about as much expense upon everything that the first game did, and yeah. I do have to kind of laugh a bit at the whole, turns out your main character that you've been playing for 2 games now turns out to be this random person in the background that nobody gives a shit about. I mean, you could have done without that link, really. If you're going to link this to the movies, at least provide something that's actually meaningful and actually worth caring about. Aside from that, yeah, the game looks like it's good. For what it is. I mean, I don't know. I don't really have much to say. It seems like it's good. The overall, the writing overall feels about on par with the first game to me. And yeah, the graphics, it doesn't feel like there's that much of a graphical leap, but then again, Warner Bros. Probably provided a very tight deadline on these devs.
Not just that, the amount of, remember, the Nemesis system has to randomize a lot of things, so basically probably possibly simpler assets to actually go with, which, again, I'm fine.
Sure. But yeah, that's it. It's perfectly fine, so yeah.
Alright. I'll conclude. Honestly, I still really enjoy this game. Despite the baggage that it has, both in terms of bizarreness in relation to the canon and the unfortunate things that happened. When it came to development and at launch. Thankfully, again, these days you get the final product, usually in a complete package, because the complete edition gets on sale very, very often. You get it for cheap price, the entire package without strings attached, and without anything to worry about. Probably the PC version is probably still the better. I don't know. Like I said, I haven't seen it yet. If on PS5 there's a decent enough performance, a ratio, performance or graphical, upgrade for PS4 version, possible. I don't know. Still, the key is the Nemesis system. It's so enjoyable to just, roam around and do whatever you want, creating these minor storylines. And it's interesting to see a game that promises something like this and actually delivers in full colors, because a lot of times you will get to hear this in development, but eventually, the reality of the fact that a lot of stuff either has to be scripted or still done in a very tight way to respect the game boundaries or, the code that they have. And then again, instead we have this Nemesis system, which allows this degree of randomness, combining all of this effort, both on the texturing, the voice acting, and an AI that manages to combine effectively these without glitching, or doing random shit, and he manages to create this work that manages to, the blend story and gameplay in a way that I never even imagined could have been possible. Again, I don't know what kind of black magic people at Monolith do use, but please, I want more of this. That's why I'm really looking forward to the Wonder Woman video game. By the time we're recording this, the Game Awards 2023 have not yet even, been remotely streamed. So for all we know, a new trailer will show up there. But then again, in the state of it is Warner Bros. Right now, and even some of their game division, I don't know what to think more. I can only hope things will get a bit better for them. Who knows? We'll have to see. The story, it's fine. The difference in canon are noticeable, but I have to admit, they still do try to make it work. Still, make it fit with the rest of the movies at the very least. I hate to say that it's one of those things that you don't have to think about it, but the things that differ of it, I had to admit, they were not things that were specifically mentioned in the movie, so by technicality they can work with that. It's just that if you read the book, you know for a fact that this is too different to fit. But it's still a good time on its own. The thing is that this kind of project works better when it comes to superhero, because those tend to be used to alternate continuities, and as a result having to differ drastically from the canon by staying different enough and be classified as something else. While a story like this from a book might be a bit more difficult to understand for the audience, but I think it still works fine. And like I said, it overall works well. My one complaint that I guess I could say is that Talion doesn't seem to have too much of an urgency, because like I said, in the first game he was all about my family and everything, but you can argue it also had the responsibility of all the human slaves, getting into safety, all the remaining humans were in Mordor. In here, he doesn't have that many people to look forward to. Like there is technically Elthariel that he thankfully talked with, and Barrow, but when Barrow fucks off, he doesn't get to meet Torvin again, unfortunately. So it really gives the sensation of him feeling alone. Combined again with his design, which I'm sure this game tries to make him more similar to Troy Baker in some of the cutscenes thanks to the mocap, but he really still looks like your generic Xbox 360 protagonist, that was so in vogue in the end of early 2010s. again, Celebrimbor is more interesting to see how much of a dick he quickly becomes, and it gives the sense of ambiguity. Was he always, like this? Did pouring these essence into a ring ultimately made him that stupidly evil, potentially? We will probably never know. Elthariel also is interesting because you think we are going through a specific direction for a character, but no, towards the end she has their moment of weakness. So overall, again, stuff that I like, also the score, much more similar to the one of the movies. Again, this entire package, I genuinely enjoyed. Speaking of Elthariel, as the credits are wrapping up, so enjoy them as we last, that's where we're heading next. The last piece of content that this game has to offer for recording is the first DLC that they release, The Blade of Galadriel. So tune in next time to see what happened to Elthariel during one of the last moments of those 60 years where Talion eventually had to fight for controlling his own persona. See you for that.
See ya.
But yeah.